morning. And welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all of our members, friends, and guests. My name is George Shearer. I'm the treasurer on the Board of Trustees, and I'm happy to also serve as your worship associate today. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielina Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. We acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices, to learning new ways of being in community with each other and with the land itself. Today's service is led by the Reverend Matty Sifantus. Music is by Dr. Zenaida Robles and Wells Lang, with guests Stephen Ellison and the Neighborhood Chorus. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Families with young children are always welcome in the sanctuary, and there is an additional play area for the very youngest in our narthex. For adults and older youth who don't need assistance, there is a quiet crafting table close to the organ. I have one announcement this morning. After the service today, join the Social Justice Rapid Response Team for sign making for next week's No Kings protest. We'll be gathering on the patio. Bring your creativity and we'll have markers and poster board for you. Our order of service this morning is available as a link in the Sunday email and online by scanning the QR code on the back of your hymnal with your phone camera. Once again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, an inclusive community connected by love, spirit, and service.
Good morning. My invocation this morning, I've adapted it from some words by my colleague Erica Hewitt. Some of us are bringing our best selves this morning to this space. And some of us are bringing our struggling selves, including pieces we might be ashamed of. But all of us are welcome here, all and each and everyone. Some of us have open hearts and some of us are not quite there yet. Because our hearts might be gotten a little beat up this week. We might be worrying about the news. We might be worrying about the state of our country and our nations. But your heart is welcome here. No matter how bruised it is this morning, we welcome you among us. I'm now going to light the chalice of our tradition with words I've adapted from Reverend Eric Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason. It is the fire of compassion. It is the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life. As we center ourselves this morning, as we arrive here this morning, please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we pause in this stillness to rest for a moment, to quiet ourselves so that we can feel what stirs within us as we begin our gathering this morning. Each breath draws us closer to the pulse of life, and with each exhalation, we make room for something new. May we find in this time the comfort of those who care. May we encounter patience along our growing edges and compassion in our most tender spots. Let us hold a moment of silence as we gather in this company this morning.
Good morning, I'm Dr. Zenaida Robles, Director of Music here at Neighborhood Church. I want to encourage you to enjoy today's music, remembering that when you hear something exuberant and uplifting, you're invited to respond. Sometimes you might feel like clapping. There are also times when you will hear music that's more contemplative, and we invite you to remain peaceful and perhaps not clap after more contemplative pieces. You might hear both today. Thank you so much. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life, which we will sing in English and in Spanish.
Glory Hello? We're alive. I would like to invite all of the children and youth to come up. Anyone also who would like to come and sit on the floor with us, young at heart? Okay, does everybody have a spot? So today, we have a story called The Fox and the Lion. Once there was a woman who prayed to understand what path she should take in life. One night after praying, she dreamed of walking in the woods. The next day, she journeyed to the woods, searching for the answers to her prayers. It was quiet and peaceful. Then she saw a patch of red fur. It was an injured fox lying in the shade of a large tree. Before she could reach the fox, she heard the nearby bushes rustle, and out came a lion with a fish in its mouth. Frightened, the woman hid herself and watched as the lion laid the fish near the fox, turned around, and left the way it came. As she watched the weakened fox eat the fish, she said to herself, "There's my answer. The great provider who takes care of the fox will also take care of me. I don't have to do anything. I will be taken care of if I just have faith." The woman went back home, happy to have her answer. And indeed, she did not do anything. She did not go to work. She did not feed herself. She did not even bathe. She became hungry sitting in her house. So she went to town to see if she would be provided for there. Yet no provisions came. People avoided her. She wasn't showering. So she grew weak from hunger. She fell into a restless sleep and dreamed that she was back in the woods. "Oh, great provider," she implored in her dream. "You took care of the little fox, but you will not provide for me?" The great provider replied, "You are mistaken. I do not want you to be the fox. I want you to be the lion." So it's interesting. I don't know if any of you have had dreams that you remember in the morning. Does that happen? Yeah? All the time? No? So we have different experiences of dreams, but she ended up interpreting the dream in a way that she didn't have to take any action. She was just going to sit and wait for things to happen, but she interpreted it in not the way that it was meant. The great provider wanted her to be the one that gave the fish to the fox. So that's our story for today. We are going to stand up and put our little cushions back, and then everyone's going to sing us out to class.
Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to 501c3 organizations or neighborhood church-based social justice activities that are making a difference in our community and in our world. You can donate in one of two ways. You can use your cell phone to donate by texting the number on the screen there. Or if you prefer to donate in person, put your donation in one of the designated boxes during the service or after the service. There's a donation box here in the front and another one behind the center back row and in the narthex entryway on the table. You may rise during the music to put your donation in the box if you wish. Please extend help to those in your neighborhood who may need assistance reaching the donation boxes. If you wish to make a payment towards your pledge or contribute to church operations, make a note in the subject line or use an envelope available at the donation boxes. This week, our gifts will support the Center for Restorative Justice. Here with more information is Kevin Croker.
Good morning. The Center for Restorative Justice educates and equips communities to address the history of racial injustice and disrupt its ongoing impact by making the past present. Located here in Pasadena, the center pursues these goals through experiential learning opportunities, educational programs, and embodied storytelling, all grounded in spiritual practices. My wife, Lynn Miyamoto, Carrie Vargas, and I joined a group of kindred souls in a pilgrimage through Pasadena organized by the center earlier this year to explore the fraught racial history of Pasadena. Many of the pilgrimage attendees came from other Pasadena congregations, also seeking to understand how they can be part of repairing past inequities. The three of us were so inspired and impressed by this pilgrimage that we immediately began discussing with center leadership how we could bring this program to more of our neighborhood church congregants. We are excited that the center will be leading a pilgrimage next April, organized specifically for neighborhood church members and friends. Our partnership with the center continues to grow. The Center for Restorative Justice creates a soft space for hard conversations. Through its trainings, workshops, pilgrimage, and book clubs, the center has become a hub of learning and transformation. Your financial support will enhance these programs so they can continue the work of truth-telling, advocacy, and repair in pursuit of a just future for all communities. Thank you for giving generously to support the Center for Restorative Justice.
Thank you for giving generously.
If religion was a thing that
So my reading this morning is "Open our hearts with love," and it's actually, you have a sentence to say back to me, which is, "Open our hearts with love." Let's practice that. Open our hearts with love. Perfect. And it was written by Naomi King, and you may not know that Naomi King is the daughter of the author Stephen King, and she is a UU minister. Little known fact. When the world's violence shatters the joy of a moment, we pause and reach out for the hands that remain. We open our hearts with love. When despair rises as a monster from the deep and drags down one of our own, our answer is that we open our hearts with love. When hatred and anger, rage and fire and suffering, we bend down to pick up the wounded, to bind up ourselves, and we open our hearts with love. When fear whispers, build more gates, add more locks. The blessed are those who defend themselves. We rock those fears to sleep and let them rest as we open our hearts with love. People will do unspeakably cruel and horrible things. We know this fact. We live and die this daily, all around the world, in every community and every wasteland. But we know the answer is found only with one action. So we open our hearts with love. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone can be healed. This is the truth we affirm. We live with courage and with a wider and wider circle of that force that bends our lives to ones of mercy, justice, and compassion. We open our hearts with love. It's the truth. Just by being born, you are loved. There is something within you, something within every person that can be loved. We open our hearts with love.
Blvd with us playing percussion, so welcome, Michael.
Good morning. I gotta say, it feels really good to be back here playing in this room with you. So, a bit about the song. I'll tell you a bit about the song. I wrote it about a month ago. It's very fresh, and it's wonderful sharing it and playing it with these wonderful musicians here. The weight of words, it's about how, it's called The Weight of Words, and it's about how certain words can carry tremendous weight, the kind that stays with you and changes how you see the world or how you feel. It's about the effort to move through this heaviness and the digital labyrinth we sometimes build and as we try to make sense of things. Along the way, it leans on science, compassion, persistence, and grace, and ends with some kind of, not with resolution, but a question of, will you help me through? So there's a part where you literally can help me. There's right after the bridge, it goes back, right after the second chorus, it goes into the bridge, and there's the word through. I'm going to ask you all to sing that word with me. The choir will help you out. And so we'll practice it here before I play the whole song, so you can get a sense of it. So. Will you help me through? I can just sit down now. But I won't. So this is the weight of words. Your words hit me hard, sink deep into my bones. I want to release them, but they won't leave me alone. The weight of your words brings me to my knees. Nothing you can tell me will set me at ease. Whispers fill this silence. Wish that I could run. I'm desperate for answers, but can't find one. I want to believe these words will be lifted. If I believe, then it must be true. Don't want them to define me. Don't want to burden you. So I dig my digital labyrinth, but don't know where it goes. I try to find my center, but the center implodes. I look ahead for the next step, and the one after that, and after that. I want each one to hold me, so I won't fall back. I want to believe each turn means something. If I believe, then it must be true. I'll emerge into open spaces. Don't want to be hidden from you. Will you help me through? Will you help me through? I want to believe the strength of science will bring me through this maze and trust my feelings to reveal with grace. I want to believe your compassion will fill me to my core. I'll mind my persistence to help me endure. I want to believe this fog has lifted, this cloud will not return. My light that can shine now will burn and burn and burn. I want to believe my voice is rising. This song is meant to be. I need tomorrow's promise. The future will hold me. I want to believe these words have lifted. If I believe, then it must be true. Don't want them to define me. Don't want to burden you. Will you help me through? Will you help me through?
Well, there we have it, our sermon for today about compassion is about helping us all get through, isn't it? That's at the bottom. But I have a few more words anyway. So this month, where your theme is compassion, I ask, how do we bring compassion to our hurting world? How do we practice compassion, starting, of course, with ourselves and then extending it to others? How can we be the lion from our story this morning? How can we be the helper? How may we open our hearts to provide connection, giving, and being a source of strength? In the words of Stephen's song that he just sang, science, compassion, persistence, and grace. How do we help each other get through? And what are we talking about when we talk about compassion anyway? Just like the weight of any word, many of us think about it with probably a slightly different definition. My dictionary defines the word compassion as the sympathetic consciousness of others' distress with a desire to alleviate it. I suppose that's a place to start, but I think it's much more than that, as most things are, especially since compassion shows up in some way or another as a value in all the world's religions and is implied and spoken in our new UU values with love at the center. In addition, as we have long been affirming as UUs, compassion is a key element in our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, as well as our second source, words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Those of you newer among us may not realize that Unitarian Universalists have covenanted around 7 principles and are informed by what we call 6 sources since the 80s, when I, for one, was a brand new UU. And I'm not leaving those principles behind, even as I do affirm our new values. Many of us who come to Unitarian Universalism do so because they find what they think are like-minded people, religious liberals in an illiberal world. I think the bigger challenge of our faith for us is to become like-hearted. And compassion, of course, is an essential element in this faith journey of ours. Big-hearted, lion-hearted, like our Sufi story this morning. That was a Sufi story. My compassion touching your compassion and bringing compassions not only to this gathering, but outside our walls, as I heard this morning of what you're giving your offering for and what I know many of you are working towards. The author Brené Brown has said, compassion is not a virtue, it is a commitment. It's not something we have or don't have, it's something we choose to practice. So how do we practice compassion these days, where there's so many needs everywhere we turn, and people even talk about, and maybe you have felt, compassion fatigue from just living in today's world, in these times, in our country and on our shared planet, whether we are in a specific caregiving role or not. So nurses and doctors, especially during COVID, you heard a lot about compassion fatigue, but all of us experience it these days, I believe. I discovered while writing this, there is actually a compassion fatigue website. www.compassionfatigue.org, and look it up. Although I found the site pretty dysfunctional, so perhaps those maintaining it are suffering from compassion fatigue themselves. But I'll read a little of what they say there, especially in this time in regards to compassion of caregivers. Caring too much can hurt, they say. When caregivers focus on others without practicing self-care, destructive behaviors can surface. Apathy, isolation, bottled up emotions, substance abuse had a long list of symptoms associated with the secondary traumatic stress disorder that we now label compassion fatigue. While the effects of compassion fatigue can cause pain and suffering, learning to recognize and manage its symptoms is the first step towards healing. So how do we practice compassion fatigue or not? I don't often, or actually never, quote Jim Wallace from the Sojourners, but I like his thoughts on this, which proves that everyone has some good stuff to say, I think. He says, and I quote, "Compassion has less to do with doing charity than making connections," end quote. The word compassion means literally to suffer with. It means putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, to try to understand their experience or to see the world through their eyes. That always, always changes our perspective. True compassion has less to do with sympathy than it does to do with empathy. The call to compassion, he writes, is not about somebody doing for somebody else. Rather, its value is in that connection, in that relationship, and the transaction in which everyone is changed. The Hebrew prophets say that we find our own good in seeking the common good. The prophet Isaiah says that when we feed the hungry, take in the homeless, break the yoke of oppression, then we find our own healing. We find our own healing. I find myself thinking about that a lot these days, as I am sure many or most of you do too. Going through these times where I live in Santa Paula, which is, if you don't know, 80% Mexican, and driving through the agricultural fields every day to go pretty much anywhere, I find myself praying for the workers I see in the fields, hoping that they're safe when I go by. So how do we practice compassion, recognizing the kindred spirit we all share together, or respecting the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, our seventh principle? How do we raise compassionate children and grandchildren? One way I do that is with my long-time silent meditation practice, one I have been doggedly following since my college days. One of the things I do to do that is go on the Spirit Rest retreat and imagine my amazement to find out that my worship associate was a fellow person that goes as well, but we don't talk to each other because it's a silent retreat. I'm like, "Are you the George that goes to Spirit Rest?" Like, yeah, you never know. But as part of my meditation practice, I've studied loving kindness meditation, which some call metta, with various teachers who come from Buddhist traditions. The Buddha stated, and I quote, "Compassion is that which makes the heart of the good move at the pain of others. It crushes and destroys the pain of others." That's what the Buddha said. And when his attendant asked him "Is loving kindness and compassion part of the practice?" He replied that it would be true to say that the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion was all of the practice. Compassion certainly grounded my own path into ministry, first with 7 years of youth work that I did in the 80s, and then founding an elder chorus, which was called the Golden Tones, which I led for 20 years. And my ministry was not only music, and I really enjoyed hearing you all sing today, but it was working with people at the end of life. Death and dying, illness, children dying, all manner of things taught me more and more about compassion and helping people through. And before that, when I was singing in rock and roll bands, which I did for many years and actually still do sometimes, but I remember particularly in the early 70s in some nightclub in Vermont, and singing "You've Got a Friend," the old Carole King song, from the stage, and then going and sitting at the bar and having someone really open up to me about something in their life, and they needed a friend. And I think that was another beginning of compassionate listening, which is one of our ways that we need to approach this. One of the ways we can truly be compassionate is to really listen to each other. Not be thinking about what you're going to say after they stop talking, but actually hearing what another person is saying. And it is harder than you think. As Unitarian Universalists, and in fact, of all people of faith in my mind, we are called to practice compassion. Unitarian Universalist minister Richard Gilbert has said, and I quote, "As Unitarian Universalists with a proud history of repairing the world, we cannot be content to be more occupants of time and space. We want our time on earth to mean something. We want the space in which we live and move and have our being to be in good repair. We are ill content to wear our religion only in our heads and our hearts. We want it to be expressed with our hands. Compassionate service to others," he says, "and social justice work are not simply items on the spiritual menu, an add-on, an extracurricular activity, but part and parcel of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Justice, equity, and compassion are lived values in a free faith." End quote. I know that many of you here as individuals practice compassion in various ways in your own lives and as well as part of this congregation. Meeting this moment, as we say. Meeting this moment we find ourselves in somehow. As I said, for myself living in Santa Paula, I'm very aware of some of the issues presented at this time. And I've done a lot of work with the farm workers and farm worker housing, Latino Town Hall, Poder Popular, and other organizations locally. Before COVID, I call it BC, I regularly visited detainees and advocated for those asylum seekers who were held at the Adelanto Detention Center, who came here to our country looking for the same freedom that our emigrating ancestors did in this country. Both sides of my family, all sets of my grandparents emigrated, half of them from Nova Scotia and the other half from England. and they came here looking for a better life. Sometimes I feel helpless, and I'm sure you do as well. And I'm aware that really all I can bring is compassionate listening and letting the people I am with, whether at Adelanto or in a justice event, know that somebody cares. Someone cares about them. And of course, we practice compassion by how we walk with each other in a congregation. But when we think of it, the person we sometimes neglect the most when we practice compassion is ourselves. So I'm spending these last moments with you today thinking about self-compassion. It's kind of a buzzword these days, but it really is something to consider. And no, it isn't about upping our self-esteem or navel-gazing, but treating ourselves with compassion and an open heart, not expecting perfection, not expecting to address every need. Sometimes, when I feel like I need to take care of myself, I just put my hand on my heart and feel my heart beating. And no, it might not be that way, it might be otherwise. Dr. Kristen Neff, who has written a lot about this, addresses in her book Self-Compassion the proven power of being kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. What a concept. Being kind. It addresses the fact that the relentless pursuit of high esteem has become a virtual religion. This is what she writes. Our ultra-competitive culture tells us we need to be constantly above average to feel good about ourselves. But there is always someone more attractive, successful, or intelligent than we are. And even when we do manage to grab hold of the high self-esteem for a brief moment, we can't seem to keep hold of it. Neff puts forward an alternative to self-esteem that many experts believe is a better and more effective path to happiness, which is that phrase, self-compassion. And I think that happiness may not even be the right goal. Self-acceptance and the practice of compassion towards our own failings and imperfections is the way to go. To give yourself the same caring support you would give a friend or a family member. I end my words this morning with a reflection that a friend of mine from the East Coast, where I moved from 11 years ago, and a colleague of mine, which might give you one way to practice self-compassion if you dare. Her name is Alea Kemmler, and she serves a quintessential white New England church, the First Parish, on the Village Green in Groton, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful place. And she has been serving that congregation for more than 2 decades. She mostly loves being a small town minister and gets to bless just about everything from chickens to the new postmaster. You can just picture her doing that. She's also the mother of 2 teenagers, and therefore she's very brave. Which makes me think I'm the grandmother to 2 teenagers right now that are 19 and 17, and they're both heading out into the rock music world. So I feel I'm brave too, because I know exactly what that world is like. So Alea wrote this, and I quote her. I recently suggested to the congregation I serve as minister that they might want to try praying naked in front of a full-length mirror. Their response was, not surprisingly, slightly hysterical laughter. we're doing it secondhand, so it's not quite as hysterical. I didn't make up that idea, she said, but I got it from the priest and writer Barbara Brown Taylor. She recommends that from time to time, we take off our clothes, look at ourselves in the mirror, and tell ourselves with as much tenderness as we can, here I am. This is a body like no other that my life has shaped. I live here. This is my soul's address. To face ourselves naked in the mirror with some measure of gentleness, much less reverence, is a hard assignment, she says. Many of us learned early on that we were either too much or not enough. Many of us grow up believing that essential parts of us are unacceptable. The way we look, the way we feel, talk, or love, or learn. We never seem to fully unlearn shame. It's deeply spiritual work to put down our self-loathing and set it aside, even for a few moments. Even for a few moments, we can look in the mirror and say, you are beautiful the way you are, or handsome, if you prefer. I challenge us to spend some small part of this month when you're focusing on compassion, being the lion, and to being ourselves. Let's start by giving ourselves a big hug. Doesn't that feel good? It's just like how comfy my bed was this morning when I got out of it to drive all the way here. It's been such a pleasure to be with you. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Let love be our legacy. In some words by my colleague Samuel Trumbull, go forth in simplicity, find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves all people.
and some words for extinguishing our chalice. And now I will extinguish our flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside our walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Go in peace. Amen, and blessed be.